Welcome to a rainy day Bhagavad Gita discussion. This morning it was red skies, and we have a saying around the water, red skies in the morning, sailors take warning. And even though rain wasn't forecast, look what happened. Mother Nature really knows what she's doing, and so do we when it comes to a lot of traditional wisdom and knowledge that's been passed on through the generations. That includes the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, a poem millennia old that's been used across different cultures by different peoples to address universal issues. It's a personal story about Arjuna and his best friend Krishna, but as often is the case in literature or art, the truly personal is the truly universal. So here's Arjun, a soldier about to fight in a civil war. Now, for his country, before he's been a soldier fighting other battles against foreign enemies. And for that, he's been hailed as a hero. Now it's a civil war, and he's going to have to kill his own cousins, his teachers. And he's wondering, am I going to get the same response for that? Probably not. It's different to kill those we label others versus those we label as our own. And in fact, Arjun is thinking of laying down his weapons because he doesn't want the dishonor, the shame of killing his family elders, of creating havoc in his nation. So what's a man to do? What's a person to do? What's a being to do? Well, let's see. Chapter 6, verse 7, we're revisiting this again. You may have parts of it memorized by now. So good for you. Krishna is giving Arjun advice as to how to face this troubling situation. And Krishna says, the true self of the self-controlled stays balanced in the cold and heat, in pleasure and in suffering, in honor and in shame alike. Yeah. There we go. Answer from a spiritual guide. What to do. So Arjun was proud of his role in the world when he was getting praised for it. And he's ready to give it up when it seems he will be censured for it. How many of us have encountered that in our lives? Let's make the personal universal. For example, I've worked at a job, some of you might relate to it, and I was doing well and I was getting great performance reviews. And then I'm not sure what happened. I think maybe I started doing too well and perhaps became a threat to somebody else. And the very things that I was praised for, suddenly I was censured for. And I found out. So here I was pretty well respected in my profession. And I found out that one of my superiors had been lying about me to others, and that others, even those who had known me for years, were believing it. And I realized the same pattern had happened before with another coworker. And I went from feeling like I had an honorable place in this institution to being a nobody. And it was fascinating. I mean, it's fascinating now, not at the time. It was more like, to watch how my emotions rolled and how my behavior changed and how my commitment to that institution just snapped. But not my commitment to the principles behind that institution. That I'm still growing with. So many of us may feel this way. It might happen when it comes to a church or religious organization, to social structures. We'll talk about that a bit more tomorrow. But can we be ourselves? Arjun's destiny is to be a warrior. He's known that since he was born. When he was born, a voice from the sky said, "This is Arjun, destined to be the greatest warrior." And when it seemed like it was doing him good, like boosting his ego, he embraced it. And now that it might not stroke his ego, he's like, mm. And the reason I'm mentioning this is the word for honor in Sanskrit is mana. And I looked up other nuances because Sanskrit words have other nuances besides just one almost all the time. Other nuances include vanity, arrogance, and pride. So when we're being honored, do we tend to get vain, arrogant, and proud? And can dishonor or even shame be looked at as a way of managing the ego so that we truly do what we're meant to do, what we want to do? Now, ultimately, Arjun realizes his duty to his society is to pick up his weapons and fight for what he knows is right. No matter what his colleagues say, no matter what history will say. Because history, we have to remember, is always written by the victors, right? Not by those conquered. Oh, that seems kind of heavy. Today's practice is dedicated to Vera. My heart is with you. Um, Historical scholars, it's Independence Day here in the States. And let me tell you, the political strife is running high, and people are like, the country. But if you look back in the history, even a couple hundred years ago, this same kind of political vitriol was going on and has been going on. And we forget, and we tend to think that our particular situation is the linchpin on which all destiny will turn. So, to all those who study history and share it with others, I salute you so that hopefully we're not doomed to repeat it. And also, I'm dedicating this to those who stand and wait, because since it's Independence Day, before this, I took my bike ride and a walk in one of the local metro parks. And there are lots of picnic tables and shelters in the metro parks. And at 6:30 in the morning, you've got people who now have to sit out in the rain, sitting out and reserving the picnic spots for their family. One guy, usually a guy, although there was a group of 3 women doing it in one spot, um, who just like spreads tablecloths on all the claim tables and sits right in the middle so that when their families get there, they can celebrate together. So to those who stand and wait in any capacity, man, good for you. Let's practice. Switch. Do you see it as honorable that I adjusted the pose for my needs, my knee, or shameful? And does that show up in your own life? So I invite you to contemplate your own response to honor and shame for 5 minutes. And we'll check in. Welcome back. I'd love to hear how that went for you. You're welcome to share comments below by email or text. I'm again shocked. It's raining all around, and yet I must be sitting in some magic spot all the time because I don't get rained on. I'm taking that as a sign to keep doing what I'm doing. Some comments are very supportive. In fact, most of them, thank you, I feel honored. And of course, there are comments about my daily practice. They're like, why? What are you doing? Stop it. Honor, dishonor. I'm going to keep doing this practice for the year. I'm going to keep being me, keep being you. Happy Independence Day. Be independent of others' judgments and be you, because you are a wonderful person to be. I can't wait to be with you again soon. Until then, there you are.